Dear friends and viewer, the name of Homer is well known to every person who is interested in literature and in Greek mythology. Homer had written two outstanding great books, Iliad and Odyssey. So today I will tell you about from I had taken a very a small portion from his book Odysseus, and this is the tale of the Cyclops uh, from the Odyssey. As you know, Odysseus was a Greek hero who went for on and try to fight along with the other Greeks and to bring back Helen of Troy with them. So today I will confine myself within the story of Cyclope. Cyclope was a great giant with one eye on his and a very big giant. So how Odysseus went to his island. This is the story which I'm going to tell you now. So the story starts like this, that the later we came to in the words of own Odysseus, later we came to the land of Cyclops, a giant people. There is a waste island outside the harbor of their land, and on it there is a well of bright water that has popular growing round it. We came to that empty island and we beached our ships and took down our sails. As soon as the dawn came, we went through the empty island, starting the wild goats that were there in a flocks and shooting them with our arrows. We killed so many goats, wild goats. There we had 9 for each ship. Afterward, we looked across to the island of the Cyclops, and we heard the sounds of voices and saw the smoke of fire and heard the bleating of flocks of sheep and goats. I called my companion together and I said, it would be well for some of us to go to that other island with my own ship, and with the company that is on it. I shall go there. The rest of you abide here. I will find out what manner of man live there, and whether they will treat us kindly and give us gifts that are due to strangers, gifts of provision for our voyage. We embarked and we came to the land. There was a cave near the sea, and round the cave there was a mighty flock of sheep and goats. I took 12 men with me, and I left the rest to guard the ship. We went into the cave and found no man there. There were baskets filled with cheese and vessels of whey and pails and bowls of milk. My men wanted me to take some of the cheese and drive off some of the lambs and kids and come away. But this I would not do, for I would rather that he who owned the stores would give us for his own free will with the offering that were due to strangers. So while we were in the cave, he whose dwelling it was returned to it. He carried on his shoulder a great pile of wood for his fire. Never in our lives did we see a creature so frightful as this Cyclope was. He was a giant in a big size, and what made him terrible to behold, he had one eye on, and that single eye was on his forehead. He cast down on the ground the pile of wood that he carried, making much a din that we fled in terror into the corner of the recesses of the cave. Next he drove his flock into the cave and began to milk his ewes and goats. And when he had flocks within, he took up a stone with that not all our strength could move, and set it as a door to the mouth of the cave. The Cyclops kindled his fire, and it blazed Up he saw us in the corner and recesses. He spoke to us. We knew not what he said, but our hearts were shaken with terror at the sound of his deep voice. I spoke to him, saying that we were Agamemnon's men on our way home from the taking of Prime City, and I begged him to deal with us kindly for the sake of Zeus, who is ever in the company of stranger and suppliant. But he answered me, saying, We, Cyclope, we pay no heed to Zeus, nor to any of thy gods. In our strength, in our power, we deem that we are mightier than they. I will not spare thee, neither will I give thee aught for the sake of Zeus, but only as my own spirit bids me. And first I would have thee tell me how you come to our land. I knew it would be better not to let the Cyclope know that my ship and my companion were at the harbor of the island. Therefore I spoke to him gleefully, telling him that my ship had been broken on the rocks and that I and the man with me were the only ones who had escaped utter doom. I begged again that he would deal with us as just man deal with a stranger and suppliant, but he, without saying a word, laid hands upon two of my men, and swinging them with the legs, dashed their brain out of the earth, and he cut them to pieces and ate them before our very eyes. We wept and we prayed to Zeus as we witnessed a deed so terrible. Next, the Cyclops stretched himself amongst his sheep and went to sleep beside the fire. Then I debated whether I should take my sharp sword in my hand and, feeling where his heart was, stab him there, but second thoughts held me back from doing this. I might be able to kill him as he slept, but not even with my companion could I roll away the great stone that closed the mouth of the cave. Dawn came, and the Cyclope awakened, kindled his fire, milked his flock. Then he seized two other of my men and seized them and made ready for his midday meal. And now he rolled away the great stone and drove his flocks out of the cave. I had pondered on a way of escape. I had thought of something that might be done to baffle the Cyclope. I had with me a great skin of sweet wine, and I thought that if I could make him drunken with wine, I and my companion might be able for him. But there were other preparations to be made first. On the floor of the cave there was a great beam of olive wood, which the Cyclope had cut to make a club within. The wood should be seasoned. It was yet green. I and my companion went and cut off the fathom's length of the wood and sharpened it to the point and took it to the fire, hardened it in the glow. Then I hid the beam and the recess of the cave. The Cyclope came back in the evening and, opening up the cave, drove in his flocks. Then he closed the cave again with a stone and went and milked his ewes and goat. Again he seized two of my companion. I went to the terrible creature with a bowl of wine in my hands. He took it and drank it and cried out, "Give me another bowl of this, and tell me thy name, that I may give thee gift for bringing me this honey-tasting drink." Again I spoke to him gleefully and said, "No man is my name, no man my father, and my mother called me. Give me more of the drink." "No man," he shouted, "and the gift that I shall give to thee is that I shall make thee the last of the flower of the to be eaten." I gave him wine again, and when he had taken the third bowl, he sank backward, his face upturned, and sleep came upon him. Then I, with my 4 companions, took that beam of olive wood, now made into a hard and pointed stake, and thrust it into the ashes of fire. Then the pointed end he began to glow where we drew it out of the flame. Then I and my companion laid hold on the great stake and dashing at the Cyclope, thirsted it into his eyes. He raised a terrible cry that made the rocks ring, and we dashed away with the recesses of the cave. His cries brought other Cyclope to the mouth of the cave, and they, naming him as Polyphemus, called out and asked him what ailed him to cry. No man, he shrieked out, no man is slaying me, my guile. They answered him, saying, if no man is slaying thee, there is nothing we can do for thee, Polyphemus. What ails thee has been sent to thee by the gods. Saying this, they went away from the mouth of the cave without attempting to move away the stone. Polyphemus, then groaning with pain, rolled away the stone, sat before the mouth of the cave with his hand outstretched, thinking that he would catch us, and we dashed out. I showed my companion how we might pass by him. I laid hands on the certain rams of the flock. I lashed 3 of them together with supple rod. Then on the middle ram I put a man of my company. Thus every 3 rams carried a man. As soon as the dawn had came, the ram hastened out to the pasture. As they passed, Polyphemus laid hands on the first and the third of each 3 they went by. They passed out, and Polyphemus did not guess that a ram that he had not touched carried out a man. For myself, I took a ram that was the strongest and fleecest of the whole flock, and placed myself under him, clinging to the wool of his belly. At this ram, the best of all his flock went by. Polyphemus, laying his hand upon him, said, would that you, the best of my flock, were endowed with speech, so that you might tell me where no man who has blinded me has hidden himself. The ram went by, and when he had gone a little way from the cave, I loosened myself from him and went and set by the companions free. He gathered together many of the Polyphemus sheep and drove them down to our ship. The man he had left behind would have wept when we heard what had happened to 6 other companions. But I bid them take on the boat the ship we had brought and pull the ship away from that land. Then we had drawn a certain distance from the shore. I could not forbear to shout my taunts and to the cave of Polyphemus. Cyclope, I cried, you thought that you had the company of a fool and weakling to eat, but you have worsted by me, and your evil deeds have been punished. So I shouted, and Polyphemus came to the mouth of cave with great anger in his heart. He took up the rocks, cast them at the ship, and they fell before the prow. The man bent to the oars and pulled the ship away, or it would have been broken by the rocks he cast. And when we were further away, I shouted to him, Cyclope, if any man should ask who it was set his mark upon you, say that he was Odysseus, the son of Laertes. Then I heard Polyphemus cry out, I call upon Poseidon, the god of the sea, whose son I am, to avenge me upon you. Odysseus, I call upon Poseidon to grant that you, Odysseus, may never come to your home, that you come to it after much toil and suffering, in an evil plight and in stranger ships, to find sorrow in our home. So Polyphemus prayed, and to my evil fortune, Poseidon heard his prayer. But we went on in our ship, rejoicing at our escape. We came to the waste island where my other ships were. All the company rejoiced to see us, although they had to mourn for their 6 companions slain by Polyphemus. We divided amongst the sheep we had taken from Polyphemus' flock, and we sacrificed to the god. At the dawn of the next day, we raised the sail on each ship, and we sailed away. So this is the story of the Cyclope, the one-eyed giant, the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. How Odysseus, a keen, very cunning Odysseus, blinded him, how he had taken the revenge of his friend and companion from Odysseus the giant, from Cyclope the giant. Thank you very much of his listening, the Homer Odysseus.